on to our next session of the day. We have Mr. Elie Younes, EVP and Global Chief Development Officer, Radisson Hotel Group. Elie leads Radisson Hotel Group's growth globally. He is a member of RHG's executive committee team and is based in Brussels. His experience nears 1,000 hotel transactions worldwide across all mainstream and alternative segments, asset classes, and business models. Under his leadership, Radisson Blu cemented its position as the largest upper upscale brand in Europe for more than 10 consecutive years. Elie is joined on stage by Ms. Megha Tuli, partner and co-founder at Hotelivate. Megha is responsible for the overall planning and execution of business, ensuring the ongoing growth strategy of the firm. Her drive to create well-thought-out and structured solutions and her unique ability to craft business ideas for all things hospitality makes her advice highly sought after. Please give them a round of applause.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Elie, it's a pleasure to have you here at THINC Indonesia. Thank you so much for joining us. Elie, you've been one of the more outspoken voices in the industry, never afraid to sort of challenge conventional wisdom. So I'm very excited about this conversation, and I'm hoping that it's going to be great for the audience as well. I'd like to start by zooming out to the region. Asia, obviously super diverse, very dynamic, but also very uneven in terms of brand presence for you, right? So let me begin with this. Which Asian markets are your top 3 priorities today? I'm asking this because, for instance, Radisson doesn't have a presence in Singapore yet.
Correct.
Right, which is a major market. Does that reflect sort of a deliberate strategy to focus on high growth markets like a Vietnam or a Philippines? Or do you see Singapore and other gateway cities as a missed opportunity for the brand?
I'll come back to that in a second. Well, great to be here, first of all. Good to see everyone. I took a plane for 15 years to get here. And as much as I'm very happy to be here, I have to tell everybody that it was a big, big challenge to tell my wife that I'm taking a 15-hour flight to go to Bali to speak at a conference. It was very hard to make her believe that. Anyhow, we have to take a photo now and then send it back home. Coming back to you, there was no strategy behind that. I have to say it was more circumstantial, and this is the brutal reality behind that, and I explain. Today, in this part of the world, we have around 850 hotels in Asia Pacific, half of which are spread between 2 countries, India and China. So we have a significant dominating presence in these 2 markets because of our current shareholding of the company, stationed in China, Xinjiang. We may come back to that later. And because of our legacy in India with over 26 years being present there. So focus for us is obviously, from a scale perspective, is on these 2 dominant markets, but then also on places like Indochina, Indonesia, Australasia. Philippines is circumstantial. Again, sometimes life is circumstantial because 26 years ago or 15 years ago, we made a very strong strategic decision to partner with one of the largest conglomerates, SM Hospitality, with whom we have now 20 hotels. Unfortunately, the brutal reality is that we didn't do the same in Indonesia. It's purely circumstantial. I hope we did the same in Indonesia 20 years ago because we could have had 100 hotels today. We made a little bit of the wrong decision out there back then. You learn from your mistakes, and hence why today, unfortunately, and fortunately, and I'll tell you why fortunately, we don't have the scale here that we have elsewhere. But fortunately, because we are going to turn that around with, I was reading a book this summer, and it was about the last mover's advantage. It's about startups, how startups can come and transform a business. So we will try to benefit from what I call now the last mover's advantage in this market and in Japan. So to answer you, it's more circumstantial rather than strategic. This is the brutal reality of it. But we're in the process now to change that over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
So since you're going to be more deliberate about Indonesia as a strategy now, can you share some sort of targeted room counts or investment value that you're pursuing over the next 3 to 5 years?
it's hard. It's more of an ambition than a statistical or accurate forecast.
Right.
But for the sake of the narrative, I would say at least 30 hotels by 2030. Look, if you look at Indonesia today, 200 million people, this is equivalent to France, Italy, and Spain altogether, 200 million. But France, Italy, and Spain have 220 million tourists coming to these countries every year. So the gap of the opportunity between Indonesia and those three countries is massive.
Yeah.
So we have the opportunity, I think, is twofold. First, the macro, Indonesia in itself has a massive opportunity because of the comparison that I just gave you. And second, market share. We need to accelerate our market share. So 30 hotels by 2030, if not more, is a very reasonable, achievable target from our perspective. 30 hotels, meaning probably we'll always try to qualify our impact on the social level as well. So 30 hotels by 2030, let's say average 200 rooms or 150 rooms, that makes 5,000 rooms. Let's say we employ in this part of the world one person per room. That's 5,000-6,000 jobs. Hopefully it will be 10,000, which means 10,000 rooms, but the social impact will be around 5,000-6,000 jobs in the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so that gives us a sense of sort of local pipeline.
Yes.
But let's step back a little bit because, Radisson today, you have almost 10 brands, and some would say that's a lot. We had, a little bit of discussion earlier this morning on the same topic. So with 10 brands already, is there a risk of brand dilution, or do you see further room to add sub-brands that are perhaps tailored to Asia?
Okay. The non-political answer is that I
want you to give like a really candid, honest answer.
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of brands. Because this is the reality. Look at our competition. Nothing wrong with what they're doing. I mean, look at the Hilton, Accor. No, we're just at a conference here, open mind and talking about facts. 40, 50, 60 brands.
Yeah.
So we don't believe in brand. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's jumping into a well. You don't have to jump into a well either.
Absolutely, nothing wrong with that. But we chose not to do that. We chose to avoid a brand proliferation approach. We have 10 brands because we believe there are 10 consumers out there. We don't think there are 40 consumers in this industry out there. We don't think you need a hotel for blonde people, a hotel for brown people, a hotel for blue eyes, and a hotel. It doesn't exist. It doesn't work like that. So we believe there are 10 segments in this industry, and hence why we have 10 brands.
Yeah.
Also, we simplify to amplify. Our brand approach is very much similar to the retail approach. So look at it as BMW. It's one car with different models. Yeah, this is how we look at it. It is one car with different models. So it's a BMW with the 8 Series, that's the Radisson collection. The 5 Series, which is the Radisson Blue, the largest upscale brand in Europe, as your colleague mentioned earlier, for 13 consecutive years. The 4 Series, which is the Radisson. The I Series, which is Art Hotel and Radisson Red. And it goes on to Radisson, etc. So everything is around Radisson within these segments. So do we have a lot of brands? I don't think so. Do we believe in brand proliferation? Absolutely not. I would say, would I like to increase or reduce the number of brands? I would probably like to reduce it. It's more focused. If you ask me personally, from a corporate perspective and our shareholders, they may have another view, but that's my view.
So if you had to reduce the brands, which are the brands that you would cut?
If I was to cut something,
yeah,
it's a hard one. It's a very hard one because at this point, I've been in the company for 15 years. So it's like telling me which babies you're going to give to the orphanage office. I don't know which one. It's very hard. I wouldn't. Which one I would cut? I would cut the one that has the least opportunity today in the markets. I would cut the one that is extremely bespoke, because the world is going towards less bespoke. If I was to have a short-term view, I would cut the one that would be more based on new build rather than conversions, because there's less new build in the world. Yeah, that's what I would cut. Which ones would that be? I don't know.
But you're not giving me a name. I need a name.
I would cut 4 Points by Sheraton.
Okay, let's flip it, right? Let's flip the question, because I think most of the growth that you've seen has really been organic, right?
Yes.
And what we've seen in Asia is sort of a wave of acquisitions. So you you had Accor that bought
Yeah.
Ennismore, and Hyatt bought Two Roads. Could Radisson consider acquiring a regional lifestyle or a budget brand?
We believe in organic growth, okay? So over the last, we grew the company based on this pure organic growth approach. We grew 500 hotels in China, 200 hotels in India. Radisson Blu, the largest upper upscale brand in Europe, we grew it organically. We didn't buy one hotel, we didn't one company.
Yes.
We didn't buy any chains, we grew it one by one. Now, this has advantages and disadvantages.
Yep.
The advantages of that is that you get pure and you get impactful hotels. Impactful hotels like what? Like recently, we've done Rivoli in Paris. We've done Opera in Paris. We've done central hotels in Rome, Milan, Barcelona, etc. So you can tailor-make your transactions to specific hotels that have a big impact. Central downtown Milan, downtown Barcelona, Rivoli. Key partnerships. We just partnered with Porsche in Stuttgart to do a Porsche hotel in their head office.
Right.
We partnered with Manchester City to do a hotel inside their stadium. You cannot do these hotels through M&As. It doesn't work like that. Because when you do an M&A, you get a flush of hotels coming to your system, of which 10% are great, 50% are comme ci, comme ça, and the rest is you really don't want them, but you take them because it's part of the deal. Nothing wrong with transactions. Having said that, the issue with organic growth, which we do, is that it's slow.
Yep.
It's not fast. It's not as, it doesn't create that flush of hotels coming through your system every year with 20, 30, 50, 100 hotels, which translate into pressure from your shareholders. Every time I go to a board meeting, when are you going to get us 200 hotel deals? Well, you know what? It doesn't exist unless we want to pay $500, $600, $700 million for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But the issue today with M&As is that good companies are overpriced. So if you want to go and buy a good company, chances are that you're going to pay for the business plan more than the actual EBITDA of the company. The valuation allocation will be based on the future pipeline rather than on the existing hotel, which means I may as well do my organic growth, because if you look at going to value the pipeline, I may as well do it myself. Having said that, would we look at M&As in the world today? The answer is yes. Would I do it in China? No. I have 1,000 hotels there.
Yeah.
Would I do it in India? No. I have 300 hotels there. Would I do it in Scandinavia or England? No. I have hundreds of hotels there. I would do it in Japan. I would do it in Indonesia. I would do it in Australasia in terms of which markets I would do it. And I would do it personally in leisure segments, because I believe there's an opportunity there as we move forward as an industry for the next 5, 10, 15 years. These are the 3 avenues that I would consider to do in M&A on the basis that pricing meets value.
So let's do a thought experiment together,
Yes.
okay? Because if I give you like a carte blanche and valuation is no bar and there's no restriction and you get, forget valuations for a minute, what would be 1 or 2 brands that you would love to acquire for Radisson?
Who's in the audience? No, if you ask me personally, I would, if I had a blank check today, a concept that I like to buy, because we're not good at doing it, is somebody similar to Club Med.
Right.
I wouldn't, because my thinking is more strategic rather than scale. I wouldn't go and want to buy a Marriott or a Hilton or one of these companies to just prove that I'm bigger and better. I'm not interested in that. I've done 1,000 hotels in my life. I've done that, been there. No need. What I want is something that adds value to my 2 customers, the guest and the owner. And that kind of concept, if you acquire something that improves your loyalty scheme, because people earn to burn by giving them the experience. And by the way, we already have 150 resorts. It's not like we don't have resorts. But if we can improve that, Club Med have only probably 70 resorts. That's the concept. I'm not saying them specifically. I'm sorry if somebody from Club Med is here. I don't mean it in any negative or positive way. Just conceptual. But I think it adds value to a company that is predominantly urban. I mean, as much as we have 140 resorts, we have 1,600 urban hotels. So I can improve my loyalty because of this dream of the loyal members to go and burn in these destinations on top of my 150 hotels, and I can improve my value proposition to my owners. So this is how I would look at it. Somebody else would look at it differently, and I would also respect that view.
Yeah.
What would you do with it?
What would I do with it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're looking at a few things in India, for example, and we've been sort of baking that out and saying this is a potential for Radisson to buy, maybe a year down the line, maybe 2 years down the line. So we'll bring it to you at the right
You're
time.
helping us on
yes,
something.
we'll help
yeah?
you with
You
that
have to
for
tell
sure.
us what to buy. Yeah.
But I won't grill you on acquisitions anymore. Let's talk a little bit about risk, because we have a lot of hotel owners in the room, right?
Yeah.
Indonesia and Asia broadly are obviously flooded with new hotel announcements. Every brand has really ambitious plans. Do you think we're headed for an oversupply in certain segments? Do you think there are bubbles forming? And when do you think these bubbles are going to pop?
I share this humbly, but equally a little bit confidently. Having out of humble experience, I've been doing this for 20 years around the world with the 1,000 hotels with the team. I think oversupply is a matter of timing and time frame. And I explain. Back in the 80s and the 90s, late 90s, when I started my career, there was a flash of thoughts about oversupply in Amsterdam. And then there's so many hotels in Amsterdam, how are you going to absorb that risk? And yes, they struggled for 2 years, and then occupancies after that went to 90% for 12 years after that.
Yeah.
The same happened in Dubai. You know, oversupply risk. I wrote articles. I remember the day when I wrote articles about oversupply in Dubai back in the 2000s. Are they crazy? What are they doing? How are they going to happen? Oversupply, please stop building hotels. I would go and advise investors. I used to be an investment advisor. Please don't invest. And then some of them used to fire me from their boardrooms. What are you talking about? We want to invest. And I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong because this oversupply concept, Berlin was the same, Copenhagen was the same, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia today is the same concept of oversupply. But it's about timing and time frame. At a certain moment in time, you have this oversupply risk, and the time frame for it will last for 2-3 years, and then life goes on. Demand picks up, and it absorbs it. Yes, there's oversupply. Yes, it happens. But the time frame for it, in the long-term view of an investment cycle, is 2-3 years. And history proved it, and it will prove it again.
But overall supply is going to continue to grow. So if that happens, the natural question is differentiation, right? What sets Radisson apart in this crowded field? Because if I look at Accor, for example, Accor has scale, Marriott has their incredible loyalty program. What is it that Radisson truly owns in Asia that nobody else can copy? Or are you still figuring that out, and are you still defining that for Asia?
You know, this nobody can copy. Everybody. It's a bit of a philosophy, but nobody can copy attitude. So everybody can copy everything, but attitude can be copied. I work for some of these companies, as you know before. I did work for some of these companies, and they're very good companies in this part of the world and elsewhere. And I'll tell you this: the reason why I'm with Radisson for the last 15 years is the following, and hence why what we own in Asia probably. I think the company has the best of all worlds, and I explain. It provides the benefits of a very, very large company in this part of the world. We own the Chinese consumer, thousands of hotels, 12,000 hotels in China alone. We own the Indian consumer, you know that, how many hotels we have in India. We own the European consumer. We have the largest brand in Europe. We have 120 million Chinese loyal members. Loyalty in China in itself is massive that we have. So we provide that benefit to the extent of providing 50 to 65% revenues to our owners out of their business system contribution. So we have that benefit, the benefit of the super big power company. But we operate as a family business. We're not listed. Yeah? So we operate as a family business. We operate with the mindset, a little bit of an underdog, and I explain. And I like that personally.
Yeah.
The underdog is somebody who's relentless, somebody who's humble, somebody who never stops, somebody who doesn't have corporate nonsense. So we have that mindset of no corporate nonsense, of humbleness, of relentlessness that we put on the table to our owners, meaning we can do things differently. We tailor-made our approach to our owners, and we are humble and we are hungry. So that combination, in my opinion, is what we offer in this part of the world, which is a little bit of the best of all worlds. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with any of the other companies that you mentioned. I worked for them for a short period of time, but I did work for them before.
Yeah. No, but I mean, obviously the Chinese ownership has many benefits, like you just explained, but there are also a lot of challenges, right? And with everything that's happening in the world, what are some of the sort of on-ground practical implications of having, Chinese ownership?
Okay, look, first of all, has no impact. The beauty of our current setup is that it has no impact on governance. So we have been a European listed company.
Yeah.
We remain not listed, but European based. So meaning our governance is highly institutionalized. We have no Asian or Chinese, not because of competence, but because of structure. It happens to be like that.
Yeah.
In our management team. What we have, Asian governance, meaning, thank you, sir. We have, I thought he's giving me a biscuit or something. But we do have Asian governance in terms of pure governance with no interference. We operate like a European extremely institutionalized company, but with Asian roots, Asian identity, and access to the Asian consumer. What this gives us, as I mentioned earlier, is a significant access to the Chinese travel ecosystem.
Yeah.
We have 12,000 hotels in China. Clearly, when Chinese will start traveling back to Indonesia or to Malaysia or to Thailand, they will stay in some of our hotels because they have Radisson hotels around the corners from where they live.
Yeah.
So naturally, there is that awareness that will help us when we get out of there. Of course, there are sensitivities. Okay, this is the reality of life. There are sensitivities in any culture with any countries everywhere in the world. But that applies everywhere. I mean, there are sensitivities today if you're British, if you're American, if you're Russian, or if you're Chinese. There are sensitivities in today's world. No matter where you are from, there is some form of sensitivity, or Indian for that matter.
Yeah, of course.
This is the reality. You have to live with your reality.
Yeah. So look, we've talked about growth, risks, ownership, all of that. But I want to we have just a couple of minutes left, so I want to end on something a little bit more personal, because you talk about the importance of family a lot. I mean, even at the beginning of this conversation, you spoke about your wife, right? But growth in hospitality often comes at the cost of missed family time.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the industry has been honest enough about the sacrifices that the whole concept of life, work-life balance, or do we just sort of sugarcoat the whole personal cost of leadership?
Look, we work in an industry that arguably doesn't pay enough compared to other industry, okay? There is an argument that if you're a broker at Morgan Stanley, you would make more money than if you are an executive in a hotel company. There's an argument that if you are working, a CEO of Google makes more money than the CEO of Radisson. Of course he does. This is the reality. I don't disagree with that. But we're lucky to work in an industry that is ever evolving, that is dynamic, and that is fun. Now, about leadership that you're saying and families. I think I learned, I wish I knew that when I was 20, but that it's never too late. I learned that leadership, professional leadership, is a small element of a much more impactful leadership that you need to have in your life, which is a personal leadership, which is leading your life. You know, the gift that you have 70, 80, 100 years on this planet is a gift that you get when you're born, and you must lead your life in a certain way that gives you health, that gives you happiness, that gives you professional success, hence professional leadership, that gives you love, hence family, and that gives you a nice social fulfillingness. And as much as professional leadership is it's very important factor in all that. Let's not, excuse my language, bullshit and say, no, it's secondary. No, it's important. We all need it. You need the monetary element of it. You need the sense of fulfillment of it. But it is a small part at the end of the day of the rest. I mean, if you don't have health, everything else is meaningless if you don't look after yourself. So you need to have that balance alongside your professional leadership. And to achieve that balance, you need to compromise. So saying that you can achieve professional leadership alongside the other elements that I mentioned without that compromise is nonsense. You need to compromise, but you need to choose your compromise. Do you need to compromise the free time when you have in your 20s, or your free time when you're in your 50s and take away your time from your kids? You need to compromise your time at lunch to go and have a glass of wine with your buddies, or you need to go to the gym at the same time to get healthy. You need to compromise waking up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym, or you need to compromise drinking until 3 a.m. at the conference and waking up at 8. These are choices you have to make. Do you need to compromise doing conference calls in the weekend, Or do you need to compromise spending quality time with your kids over the
No,
weekend?
but let's double tap on this
Yes.
a little bit, because I think, you had coined this word grit, which stands, I think, for guts and
Yes,
resilience, right?
absolutely.
And you said that was core to Radisson. Do you think that this generation of
Yes.
leaders have lost some of that grit that leaders before them had?
You know, yes and no. The more we live in a prosperity world, the more you see adversity, in my humble view, is a critical element to have that grit. And I always talk about it as guts, resilience, innovation, tenacity, having that ability to be resilient no matter what adversity you face. And the less you're exposed to adversity, if you're born if you live in your life and wake up in silk sheets, chances are that you're not going to have that hunger. So I was talking to one of our investors recently and talking about how we educate our children. And it's hard to make somebody hungry if they've never been hungry. How do you do that? So if somebody has never been hungry, how do you educate them? So fortunately and unfortunately, the more we live in a prosperous world, the less grit you have.
Sure.
Yeah, it's hard to teach that grit. And there's a saying that I always remember. You know, hard times make strong people.
Yeah.
Strong people make good times. Good times make weak people, and weak people make hard times.
Yeah.
So this is the circle of life. I do agree that you need grit. I do agree we try to teach our children this grit concept, but it's hard to teach to a large extent. So we need to teach them as much as we can. There's a new generation coming. We need to teach them how to maneuver adversity, but most importantly, to have that balance in life and to achieve that, professional success,
Yeah.
but not only that professional success.
Great. So, we're pretty much almost done, but I want to sort of end with this. If you have to leave this room of Indonesian hotel owners with one unvarnished truth about the industry or the state of the industry today, something that they may not want to hear but need to hear, what would that closing thought be?
I don't know, invest in Bitcoins. No, look, if you want to have a quick bucks, probably invest in Bitcoins, but if you want to have legacy, I think it's the right industry to invest in long term. Yeah?
Okay, super.
All right.
Thanks, Elie. Thank you for being so candid and sharing your thoughts
Thank
with
you,
us. Thank you, everyone. You've been a great audience.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.